Well, we live in an amazing universal system, don't we? One created of love and creativity, and we're surrounded by infinite possibilities. And we call all of this life. We call it all life. And that's our series this month, is Choosing to Live. And when I saw that title in our journal, I thought about what does that mean? And it's not the opposite of living or dying, but choosing to live more life. Ernest Holmes tells us that the life that includes the most has the most, is the richest. And in choosing more life to be expressed and experienced through us, and how we can use our tools and practices, our teaching, to experience more life through us. And that's what we're looking at. My talk today is called The Third Way. The Third Way. And the third way is the way of creation. If you think about it, two things come together to create a third. If you think about hydrogen and oxygen, we end up with water, right? Something we desperately need in the desert. We have the seed and the soil example producing the plant. We know of that. There's colors, red and green combined to produce yellow. That's how we get yellow. And you and I have come together to create this spiritual community. So that is the idea and the law coming together, working together to create this third thing, this manifestation or form. Now, in the science of mind, we know this, right? We know this is the creative process. We talk about it a lot. It works in nature, it works at the universal level, and it works in our individual lives. We know that it works automatically, and it works for everyone alike. There are no special cases, so to speak. And like we said last week, it's a simple law. Plant a seed in the soil, we get a plant. Plant an idea in mind, we get the manifestation. Simple. But it's not easy, right? It's not always that easy, because we are steering or driving this process through our beliefs, through our choices, through our actions. We are the uniqueness within that system that specializes it in our lives. So we look at it as this magnificent and infinite system that it really is, that's when it can take on some of those complexities. Our spirituality and our faith can be questioned when we come up against studies and facts and reality. Anybody ever been told you're not living in the real world? What are you thinking? Right? What are you thinking? When we're faced with what seems like an impossible decision or choice in our lives, and we've all had those at some point or the other, where you can see both sides and it just seems impossible to know which way to go, and the potential repercussions of each and every one of the options that you're looking at are just overwhelming. We are faced with those sorts of things. It can be easy for us then to doubt this idea of principle, of the law, and become a victim of a belief that we're somehow limited beings, that we are somehow limited beings. We default in those instances to past memories, to the way it's always been. Oh, well, I must go this way because that happened back then and it must be the same. Rather than asking ourselves if there is something new, is there a third way, another possibility beyond what I can come up with, beyond the solutions that I can think of this problem. Well, in reading our book of the month that Diane was telling you about, Mind Over Medicine, Dr. Lisa Rankin, and by Dr. Lisa Rankin, we've discovered that we operate from only 95% of the time from our subconscious mind. Think about that. We operate from our subconscious mind 95% of the time. 72 minutes of your 24 hours, we're consciously aware. 72 minutes. Is that crazy? Yeah, it really is when we think about that. And she goes on to explain that our conscious mind is the receiver of pain and the receiver of pleasure. And that when the conscious mind receives these and makes these decisions, that those then are stored away in the subconscious as memories. And anytime we get close to something that seems like, feels like, looks like that pain or pleasure, we pull out that card out of the file and react accordingly, no matter how old or moldy those memories might be. Right? We've stored them away. And that's where sometimes we talk about hidden beliefs. That's why we have them, is they're hidden away in those old stored memories that we have. And this is why sometimes our life can seem like that we're stuck, that we just can't move forward, because we've got these memories that we just keep pulling the same memory out and having the same reaction. Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of Centers for Spiritual Living and the author of The Science of Mind that we teach from, he says, because we fail to realize that principle, spiritual law, is not bound by precedent, something that's come before, we limit our faith to that which has already been accomplished, and few miracles result. When through intuition, faith finds its proper place under divine law, there are no limitations, and what we call miraculous results will follow. Now, this is a core teaching of the science of mind, isn't it? We can create again. We can create again. The creative process, just because we've created once, we're not one and done. Thank goodness, right? We get to continue to grow, evolve, and expand throughout our entire lives. So if we've created something in our life that we're not exactly thrilled with, we can simply create again, create anew. The only limitations are the beliefs that we hold in our own subconscious. Spirit is unlimited. Holmes goes on to say that a miracle is merely something we're not accustomed to seeing or experiencing. Imagine if your only experience in life was let's take Buddha. His only experience in life was opulence and living in the palace, right? And then he had a new experience. So his awareness expanded and his life changed, right? And it works on both sides of that equation. A miracle is merely something we're not accustomed to seeing or experiencing. In reality, there are no miracles. For what seems to be a miracle is but the effect of a supremely natural law. The faith that can bring about the least demonstration can bring about the greatest. Great and small are only exist in the consciousness of humanity. It's one of those limitations that we have put in our lives, one of our beliefs. In the universal mind, there's no limits. There's only infinite possibilities. Now, Ernest brings up faith in this quote. And of course, faith is that all-important ingredient to manifesting our lives. It's the very important ingredient. But where do we place our faith? Where do we place our faith today? In the ancient teaching in the Bible, we're told not to worship false idols. But what sorts of things do we have in our lives today that we could consider false idols that we worship? There's a lot of stuff out there, isn't there? There's a lot of things that we can get hooked on that become false idols. One of them is information. Now, I don't know about you, but for the past year, I have watched, listened to, read, and experienced more news and information about medical things and COVID than I have in my entire life. And I'm not more empowered from that at all. In fact, it was created fear and frustration, sadness, confusion. Did not empower me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that information is bad. It's not. We obviously need information. It's how we learn. But this material that we're working with confirms we must be very aware of what we're putting in our minds, right? What we're creating in those memory banks of our subconscious today. It's not just the old stuff, it's the current stuff as well that we're creating today. Looking at that fear and frustration and sadness and confusion, I realized that does not fill up my joy bucket. And that's what we're talking about this year, right? Joy. So I got to stop doing those things. It was Zig Ziglar that said in his great book, See You at the Top, if you dump garbage in, garbage will come out. The person who dumps garbage into your mind will do you considerably more harm than the one who dumps garbage on your floor. But which one do we get most upset about? The garbage on our floor, right? When really we should be concerned about the garbage that's going into our minds, right? Because then it filters into that subconscious, those memory data banks. Dr. Rankin's work shows us how important it is to be selective about what we are putting into that subconscious. So how can we use our spiritual tools, affirmations, affirmative prayer, journaling, meditation, those sorts of things, to build our faith and increase our time in the conscious awareness? If today we've got, let's say, an average of 72 minutes, how can we begin to increase that time of our conscious awareness? I think we can do it through the use of our spiritual tools and our spiritual practice. We have to first expand that awareness. And we do that with changing our thinking, which is what Ernest always encouraged us to do. Change your thinking and change your life. And we know that being aware of both the positive and the negative beliefs that we hold is the first step. That awareness is the first step of creating the life that we want. When we're aware of the positive things like, I believe God is all there is. I believe in the wholeness and the unity of all life. Those are good beliefs for me. I'm going to hold on to those. Those are positive beliefs. But I'm also noticing that maybe I've got some beliefs over here about lack and limitation. Those are not necessarily positive beliefs that are supporting me right now in my life. So I think maybe I'm going to work on those, and I'm going to work on my prosperity consciousness, my prosperity awareness. And I'm going to work on changing those lack and limitation beliefs into more prosperous beliefs. And it's like taking a cup of dirty water and just dripping clean water in it. And we do it long enough, the water begins to transform. And the water begins to come all clean. And that's the same with our subconscious. We just continue to fill the good stuff, right? Fill the good stuff, transform any of those negative beliefs that we find. And we can begin to clean up that subconscious that is active 23 hours a day. Okay. So anyway, it was Emmett Fox who said we need to change our minds and keep them changed. And I think that's wisdom. I think that's wisdom. You know, we talk about change your thinking, change your life. Yay. Keep them changed, right? Anybody had something that you working on, thought you had it, and then next thing you know, you've gone back and you go, what happened there? I thought I had that. Yeah. Keep them changed. We have to keep them changed. I have recently been working on changing an old belief of mine around seasonal allergies. Ernest Holmes has a whole section in The Science of Mind about this. And between that and Lisa's book and our class, Revealing Wholeness, that we're doing right now, I ran out of my Claritin about a month ago, and I decided that rather than go back and purchase that again, I'm going to work on my beliefs. I'm going to test these beliefs, prove them to myself again. So I'm working on that. And every time I have a symptom, I have a process. Now, I think I'm fortunate in this case. I'm going to be careful what I'm saying here. I think I'm fortunate in this case to have some symptoms, right? Because it's a constant reminder. If I sneeze or I get sniffly or I reach for a tissue, that's a reminder. Oh, this is my body reacting to an old belief that it thinks I have to have allergies. It's springtime in Arizona. It's allergy season. That's a belief, right? So if I'm going to change that belief, every time I have this symptom, I go into my prayer. I go into my affirmation. I remind myself of who I am, of what I am, that my body is an infinite wholeness that has an immune system that knows exactly what to do right here, right now, that I praise the intelligence of my body and every cell in it. And I go through that process and I begin to shift that belief. I'm dropping the clean water in to change that belief. So, what are you working on? Where are you changing your beliefs? What are you working on? Changing our subconscious through working with our conscious awareness does take focus. And again, this one's, I don't know if it's easy, but it's definitely, I have a built-in timer that goes off that reminds me, oh, it's time to clean up your thinking. How do we do it when it's not something that's a reminder? You can set a timer, right? You can set a timer to remind you to say an affirmation about whatever it is that you're trying to change. Things like journaling also work, when we can journal that old belief, walk through it, work through it, write through it, and see, gosh, I decided that when I was 5 years old. When my sister said or did such and such, and I decided and I did this, and now that I've led my life, I'm 61 years old. I think I can make a new decision. I think I can make a new decision now. I think I can change that. Yeah, journaling helps us move through those sorts of things. We also have affirmations to affirm that new truth, affirming our new truth. And of course, affirmative prayer, claiming that the new already exists, for we know that it exists in the infinite possibilities already, and we claim it for ourselves and place that into the law. We claim it for ourselves through affirmative prayer treatment. When we can remember that all of the good that we seek already exists for us in the infinite possibilities. It's already there. Whatever you've thought of, whatever you've intended, and our intentions that we set in January, it's already there waiting for us. We just have to clean up this subconscious that's not allowing it to come through us. It's not allowing us to come through us. There's a website called Omniverse, and it defines the field of infinite possibilities as our true reality. It transcends time, space, dimensions, even duality of positives and negatives. We draw from this field to construct our multi-dimensional reality. I like that definition. It transcends time, space, dimensions, even duality. Sounds like a miracle, doesn't it? Sounds like a miracle. Transcends all of the world of effects that we think, the way things work. That's the infinite possibility. And yet we try to limit that. We try to limit the infinite possibilities. It can't happen because of this. It can't happen because of that. Those are just limitations that we're placing. When we can accept infinite possibilities for ourselves, for our families, our community, and our world, we begin to open that doorway through which Spirit can operate in our lives and the lives of our family and communities. And we can open that door to those miracles, that miraculous results for everyone. Those things that we're not accustomed to seeing. Peace, love, smiles, right? I'm looking at everybody in masks this morning. It's like, gosh, I miss your smiles. You know, that kind of a thing. Yeah, we can see those possibilities. Something that's helped me to grasp this idea of the field of infinite possibilities is to remember that there's one mind, and I'm in it. God's in it. And if I have a desire for something new in my life, that is a divine idea in the mind of Spirit that is seeking expression through me. It's seeking expression through me. And if it's not coming through me, if I'm not seeing it yet in form, that means there's something going on in my subconscious that's not allowing for that expansion, right? There's something that's not allowing for that expansion. So that's where my work is. So when we have desires and intentions that we set in January, if they're not here yet, recognize that there's an expansion wanting to take place in you. And maybe there's some work to do in that subconscious to clean up some memory that you're continuing to pull that card of limitation of something rather than expansion. And we've got spiritual practitioners that can help us work through these things and see those blind spots that we may not be able to see. I was reading some of Neville Goddard's work yesterday, and I'm a fan. I know Zenobia is a fan of Neville's. And he was writing about the importance of sleep. And it caught my attention because I've come to realize I probably don't get enough sleep in my life, my choices that I make. And he tells us that sleep is very important for the marriage of our conscious and subconscious minds. Sleep occupies about 1/3 of our stay on planet Earth. Now think about that. If we figure 8 hours sleep a day, that's 1/3 of our day, and 1/3 of our life. 1/3 of our life on planet Earth. He goes on to say that it's the doorway into the subconscious, that the sleep is the doorway to the subconscious. It's where the conscious mind shuts down and the subconscious reproduces its likeness in the outer world of form. Neville says the conditions and events of your life are your children formed from the marriage and the molds of your subconscious impressions in sleep. Think about that. Do we all need more sleep? Right? Aids the creative process. We know it aids in body healing. Now we know it aids in creating the new things in our life that we're calling forward. So when we think about all these ideas that we've shared today, it's pretty amazing when you think about how the science and the science of mind and Lisa's work, and we add in there Bruce Lipton and Dispenza and all of these folks and the things that they're bringing forward now into our realization about how we can powerfully participate in the conscious creation of our life. There's some very, very empowering information out there. If it's true that our subconscious operates our life almost 23 hours a day, 72 minutes for us to be consciously creating and aware, and if 8 hours of those 23 are spent sleeping, that leaves us about 15 hours with our eyes open, but autopilot running the show, right? Yeah, it's kind of scary if you think about that, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of scary. But how many times have we been driving and gone, how did I get here? You know, that's our subconscious at work. Our mind wanders off, but we keep doing what we're doing. That's our subconscious at work. So we can change those subconscious memories that we have. We can change them by pouring in those empowering thoughts. Ernest Holmes tells us that the law of mind is infinite and that we have access to this infinite field as much as we're receptive to it. But I think a lot of times we get caught up in the activities of doing stuff out here. I'm going to work out there, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work on that, I'm going to work, rather than I'm going to receive. I'm going to step into the infinite law of mind and access that infinite possibility. I'm going to access those infinite solutions. I'm going to access the infinite love of the divine and allow that to flow through me to greater realization, greater recognition of what's possible in my life, what's possible for my life. That's where we spend some time, being more receptive. It's way too easy to get caught up in the belief that the past, our past, determines our future. It's way easy to get caught in that. We've all probably been snagged at one time or another. So awareness is really our first step to empower ourselves to live the life that's not burdened by our past. To live a life not burdened by our past, but that's open to the infinite possibilities and the newness of creation. So let's look at some spiritual practices and principles and things that we can work with this week to see how we can play in this infinite field of possibilities. And don't forget to sign up for Mindful Monday if you haven't already. I send you an email on Monday mornings that just gives you a recap of today's talk, the practices and things. If you're online, you can do that. Just send me an email and I'll get you added to the list. Those in the room, there's a sign up out on the table in the lobby. Number 1 is your meditation practice this week. Spend some time in silence and ask, is there a field of infinite possibilities? Just ask the question and seek your inner knowing to understand that. What is it? How does it work? What waits for me there? What waits for my sacred yes to come forward in my life? Number 2 is write it down. I know some of us are list makers. Write it down. Use the spiritual practice of journaling to ask yourself when you've set an intention to change something in your life and the intention didn't last. The changed mind didn't stay changed. Reflect on what subconscious belief is holding you back from your good and create an affirmation to change that. Discovering those hidden beliefs is really the key to unlocking the creation in your life. Number 3, track your day. For just one day this week, make a note of everything that goes into your mind and body. Reading and video content, conversations, the topics of your conversations, food, how much sleep you're getting. Maybe a day, maybe a half a day, right? But then the next morning, look at the list and reflect on the positive and negative inputs that you took in. See what you took into your life in just one day. Awareness is how we grow. So the combination of our studies of the science of mind and Dr. Rankin's research provides us the spiritual guidance backed by science that feeds our mind and our soul. And these empowering tools help us to understand the building blocks of conscious creation. And, we'd rather be conscious in our creation than unconscious or subconscious in our creation, right? We're always using the law. It's always working in our lives. We might as well get a handle on it and create consciously in the direction of our dreams, as Thoreau says. We'll close this morning with a quote from Ernest Holmes. He says, "To the average person, when a result is obtained by this method of work, a spiritual mind treatment, it looks as though a miracle has happened, but such is not the case. It is only a miracle as everything else in life is a miracle. A definite, conscious idea has been set in motion in the subjective world, which accepts ideas on their own valuation and acts upon them." He's telling us it's as we believe, right? Our own valuation. Neville instructs us to revalue our beliefs. I thought that was interesting. In his reading, he's using the word revalue, and Holmes says it's at our own valuation. And we are at choice to revalue our beliefs. This week, I invite you to find the third way to manifest some new creation. So it is. Would you join me for a prayer? Recognizing this infinite system of love and creativity that we live in, this thing called life. We recognize it as God, as source, as essence and presence, as the one. It is the infinite intelligence. It is wisdom and harmony. It is joy. And all of it is here now, present in, through, and as me, as an expression of it. I am one in the wholeness of God. God is in, through, and as me, as my life, expressing as me, as the wholeness of who and what I am. And as I know that for myself, I know that for each one of us gathered here today, whether in person or in virtual church, we are one in God as God is one in us. United in this wholeness at the heart, connected at the soul. And so knowing this, I speak my word for and about each of us, knowing that we are conscious creators in our lives, that we have within us the infinite intelligence existing in each and every cell of our bodies that knows exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, and that we are guided, guarded, and protected by the divine, by Spirit's desire to express through us. We create anew and express and expand in awareness, expand in love, expand in joy, expand in health and prosperity, expand in creativity, creative expression. That's what we're here to do, is simply to grow and to be a higher expression of the divine. And I know for anyone that has anything on their heart today that they are seeking prayer around, as we lift that into the consciousness of this prayer, into the consciousness of this room, those of us gathered here and online, I know that whatever needs to be revealed is revealed with such clarity and such grace and such ease. I know that health is revealed. I know that abundance and prosperity and money flow where needed. I know that love and loving relationships are expressing in each of our lives. I know that we are the wholeness that God is. And how grateful I am to know this and to know the manifestation of this prayer in the lives of each one of us here today, knowing that we are guided, guarded, protected by Source, that we forever walk with the divine. So I just release this into the action of law, the activity of mind, knowing that the word spoken is the word made manifest. We say yes to the infinite possibilities of our life right here, right now. We say yes to that third way. We say yes to more life. And so it is.